What if I told you that right now, inside your skull, something critical is unfolding quietly, almost invisibly, and for millions of people over 60, it's slowly failing night after night without them ever realizing it? Not because of bad luck, not because of genetics, and not because they made some obvious mistake, but because of something far more ordinary, what they chose to eat or didn't eat before going to bed. It might sound too simple at first, maybe even unlikely, but stay with me because by the time you reach the end of this, you'll understand your brain in a way most people never do. And more importantly, you'll know exactly what to change starting tonight. Let's begin with a question that almost no one ever asks. And what is your brain actually doing while you sleep? Most people imagine the brain switching off like a computer, going into sleep mode, resting, and doing very little. But the reality is the complete opposite. While your body lies still and your awareness fades, your brain becomes incredibly active, running one of the most advanced biological systems we've ever discovered. It is cleaning itself, repairing damage, and rebuilding the connections that allow you to remember names, think clearly in conversations, and feel mentally sharp when you wake up. And here's the part most people never hear about. After the age of 60, this entire system begins to weaken slowly, quietly, without obvious warning signs, and often for years before anyone notices the effects. What makes this even more concerning is that by the time symptoms appear, forgetfulness, confusion, mental fog, the damage has already been building for a long time. But there's something even more surprising, something rarely discussed in everyday conversations about brain health. The foods you eat, especially in the hours before sleep, directly influence whether this nightly repair system works properly or begins to fail. Not supplements, not complicated treatments, just real everyday foods that are easily available. And among those, there are 5 in particular that stand out for their powerful effects on the aging brain. But before we get into those, you need to understand what's actually happening inside your brain at night, because once you see the mechanism clearly, the solution won't just make sense. It will feel impossible to ignore. Deep within your brain exists a system that scientists only discovered relatively recently. For decades, researchers knew that the brain produces waste byproducts from normal activity, including damaged proteins and toxic compounds that build up throughout the day. But what remained a mystery was how the brain removed this waste. The answer, when it was finally uncovered, was remarkable. During deep sleep, a fluid called cerebrospinal fluid flows through the brain in a wave-like motion, clearing out debris much like water washing away sediment. This system is now known as the glymphatic system, and what it removes each night plays a critical role in determining whether your mind stays clear or slowly becomes overwhelmed by its own waste. One of the most dangerous substances this system clears is a protein called beta amyloid. You may have heard of it because of its strong link to Alzheimer's disease. In a healthy brain that gets enough deep sleep, this protein is flushed out efficiently night after night. But when sleep is poor or when the brain lacks the nutrients needed to support this process, beta amyloid begins to accumulate. Slowly at first, then steadily over time, night after night, week after week, year after year. And here's the part that should really make you pause. This buildup starts long before any symptoms appear, long before memory problems begin. By the time someone notices something is wrong, this process may have been unfolding silently for more than a decade. So now the question becomes unavoidable. What does this have to do with what you eat for dinner? The answer is simple but powerful. Everything. The glymphatic system doesn't run on motivation or intention. It depends entirely on biology. It requires specific nutrients to function properly, healthy fats to maintain brain cell structure, vitamins to support nerve signaling, minerals to regulate brain activity, and compounds that control inflammation and oxidative stress. Without these, the system slows down, waste builds up, and the brain you wake up with the next morning is just slightly worse than the one from the night before. That change may be small, almost unnoticeable at first, but when you multiply it across hundreds of nights, across years, it becomes significant. This is how cognitive decline often happens, not suddenly, but gradually, through a quiet process of misrepair and accumulated damage. Most people never connect this decline to their daily habits, especially their evening meals, until it's too late to go back and change it. But you're seeing it now, and that awareness alone puts you in a completely different position. There's another factor that makes the situation even more urgent, and that is inflammation. It's a word people hear often but rarely understand in a meaningful way. Inside the brain, inflammation is not just a vague concept. It's a real, measurable force that interferes with almost every repair process we've talked about. Chronic low-level inflammation reduces the brain's ability to clear waste, disrupts deep sleep, weakens memory formation, and even damages the energy-producing structures inside brain cells. And after the age of 60, this kind of inflammation becomes extremely common, especially in people who are not actively consuming the nutrients needed to control it. What makes inflammation particularly dangerous is how it feeds into itself. Poor sleep increases inflammation. Increased inflammation further disrupts sleep, and this cycle continues, gradually accelerating the decline of brain function. Every food we're about to discuss plays a role in breaking that cycle, not by targeting just one issue, but by supporting the brain in a more complete and balanced way. But the story doesn't end with cleaning and repair. Something equally important is happening while you sleep. As the brain clears out waste, it's also organizing everything you experienced during the day. Every conversation, every face, every piece of information, it's all being processed. The brain strengthens connections that matter and removes those that don't. It moves important information into long-term storage, making it easier to recall later. And this process depends heavily on the chemical environment inside your brain, your neurotransmitters, your neural connections, and the nutrients available to support them. And here's where things take another critical turn. After 60, this entire system becomes less efficient. Sleep cycles become disrupted, key brain chemicals decrease, inflammation rises, nutrient absorption weakens, and the tiny energy-producing units inside brain cells begin to lose efficiency. These changes don't happen in isolation. They interact and reinforce each other, speeding up the overall decline. But, and this is the part that truly matters, this process is not fixed. It is not inevitable. Research consistently shows that targeted changes in diet and lifestyle can slow, stop, and even reverse aspects of this decline, even in later decades of life. The brain is not a machine that simply wears out. It is adaptable, it responds to what you give it, and the foods we're about to explore are some of the most effective ways to support it. The first food is something many people overlook without a second thought. It's small, simple, and often ignored on grocery shelves, but when it comes to brain health, it's one of the most powerful foods you can eat: sardines. At first glance, they don't seem impressive. They're not marketed as a superfood, they're not trendy, and they rarely appear in conversations about improving memory or protecting the brain. But when you look at what they actually contain, it becomes clear why scientists consistently highlight them as one of the best choices for an aging brain. Sardines are packed with two essential omega-3 fatty acids, DHA and EPA. These aren't just helpful nutrients, they are fundamental building blocks of the brain itself. DHA, in particular, makes up a large portion of the structure of brain cell membranes. And those membranes are not just passive barriers, they control how signals move between neurons, how efficiently information is processed, and how well different parts of the brain communicate with each other. When there isn't enough DHA available, these membranes begin to lose flexibility. They become more rigid, less responsive, and less capable of supporting the rapid electrical and chemical signaling that thinking and memory depend on. Think about what that means during sleep when your brain is trying to organize memories and strengthen connections. Signals need to travel smoothly between neurons, but instead they're moving through a system that has become slightly stiff and less efficient. Over time, that small inefficiency adds up. Memory becomes less reliable, thinking feels slower, clarity begins to fade, and because the body cannot produce enough DHA on its own, the only way to maintain proper levels is through diet. Sardines provide this in a form that the body absorbs very efficiently, making them one of the most reliable sources available. But their benefits don't stop there. Sardines are also extremely rich in vitamin B12, a nutrient that becomes harder to absorb as we age. This vitamin plays a crucial role in maintaining the myelin sheath, which is the protective layer surrounding nerve fibers. You can think of myelin as insulation around electrical wiring. When it's strong and intact, signals move quickly and accurately. But when it begins to break down, those signals slow down, weaken, or even get lost along the way. This is one of the reasons why B12 deficiency is often linked to memory problems and cognitive decline in older adults. By providing a strong supply of B12, sardines help protect this system directly. They support faster, clearer communication within the brain and help preserve the precision that sharp thinking requires. And there's another advantage that makes sardines even more practical than many other fish. Because they are small and low on the food chain, they contain far lower levels of mercury compared to larger fish like tuna or even salmon. This means they can be eaten more frequently without concern, making them an easy and safe addition to a weekly routine. Eating sardines 2 to 3 times a week is enough to create a noticeable difference over time, especially when combined with other supportive foods. Now let's move to the second food, one that has gained popularity in recent years, but is still widely misunderstood in terms of its full impact on brain health: avocado. Most people think of it as a trendy ingredient or a healthy fat to include in meals, but its role in supporting the brain goes far beyond that. Avocados are rich in monounsaturated fats, the same type found in olive oil, and these fats play a key role in maintaining the structure of brain cells while also improving blood flow. Blood flow might not be something people immediately connect to brain performance, but it is absolutely essential. The brain may only make up a small percentage of your body weight, but it uses a significant portion of your body's oxygen and energy. Every moment, it relies on a steady supply of blood to deliver oxygen, glucose, and nutrients to its cells. When blood flow is reduced, even slightly, the brain begins to operate under less than ideal conditions. It's like trying to run a high-performance machine without enough fuel. Over time, this leads to fatigue, slower thinking, and reduced efficiency in repair processes. Avocado helps improve this situation by supporting healthier blood vessels and reducing factors that restrict circulation. This means more oxygen and nutrients reach the brain, especially during the night when repair and restoration are at their peak. But what makes avocado even more valuable is its high folate content. Folate plays a central role in a process called methylation, which may sound technical, but its effects are very real and easy to understand. Methylation influences how neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine are produced. These chemicals affect mood, focus, and overall mental clarity. It also controls which genes inside brain cells are activated, including those responsible for repair and protection. In addition, it helps the brain repair damage to DNA, something that happens regularly due to normal metabolic activity. When folate levels are sufficient, these processes run smoothly. But when folate is lacking, the system becomes less stable. Mood can shift unpredictably, sleep can become disrupted, and memory may gradually weaken. Including even half an avocado in your daily meals can provide enough folate to support these processes effectively. And when eaten in the evening, it offers a steady release of healthy fats that help transport fat-soluble nutrients throughout the night, exactly when the brain needs them most. It's not just about what you eat, but when you eat it, an avocado fits perfectly into that timing. Now we come to the third food, something many people already include in their diet, but often without realizing how important it can be when used correctly. Walnuts. Among all nuts, walnuts stand out for their unique combination of nutrients that directly support brain function. They are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, similar to sardines, but they also play a role in a process that is less commonly discussed, yet incredibly important for aging brains. This process involves maintaining the health of mitochondria, which are the structures inside cells responsible for producing energy. Every brain cell relies on mitochondria to function properly. Without enough energy, even basic processes begin to slow down. Over time, damaged mitochondria can accumulate, reducing the efficiency of cells and increasing oxidative stress. The body has a natural system to deal with this, identifying and removing damaged mitochondria so they can be replaced with healthier ones. In younger individuals, this process works efficiently, but as we age, it becomes less effective. Damaged mitochondria begin to build up, draining energy from the cell and contributing to overall decline. Walnuts contain compounds that help support this cleanup process, allowing cells to maintain a healthier balance of energy production. This is especially important during sleep, when the brain is actively repairing itself and requires a steady supply of energy to do so. In addition to this, walnuts contain antioxidants and polyphenols that help reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, both of which interfere with brain function. A small handful of walnuts in the evening can provide consistent support for these systems, helping the brain maintain its energy and resilience over time. And as you can see, we're not just talking about isolated benefits. Each of these foods is addressing a different part of the same overall system structure: blood flow, energy, and protection. And we're only halfway through. The next foods will connect these pieces even further and reveal how they work together in ways most people never consider. Now, we move to the fourth food, and in many ways, this is where everything begins to come together. If there is one food on this list that works across multiple systems at once, supporting sleep, blood flow, memory, and protection, it is spinach. At first, it may not seem as powerful or exciting as some of the others, but when you look closely at what it does inside the body, it becomes clear that spinach plays a central role in keeping the brain functioning at its best, especially during the night when repair processes are at their peak. Spinach is rich in folate, just like avocado, but often in even higher concentrations. This means it directly supports neurotransmitter production, helping regulate mood, focus, and mental clarity. It also plays a key role in DNA repair inside brain cells, which is critical because these cells are constantly exposed to oxidative stress throughout the day. Every thought, every action, every moment of activity creates small amounts of damage at the cellular level, and without proper repair, that damage builds up over time. Spinach helps the brain stay ahead of that process. But what truly sets spinach apart is its magnesium content. Magnesium is one of the most overlooked nutrients when it comes to brain health, yet it has a direct and powerful effect on sleep quality. It helps regulate the nervous system, calming excessive neural activity, and allowing the brain to transition into deeper stages of sleep. And those deep stages are exactly where the most important repair work happens, where the glymphatic system becomes most active and memory consolidation reaches its peak. In people who don't get enough magnesium, and this is extremely common in adults over 60, sleep becomes lighter and more fragmented. The brain struggles to reach the deeper phases consistently, which means the cleaning and repair processes are interrupted. Over time, this leads to a gradual buildup of waste and a decline in cognitive performance. Spinach helps correct this by supporting a more stable and restorative sleep pattern, giving the brain the conditions it needs to function properly during the night. Beyond magnesium, spinach also contains natural nitrates, which the body converts into nitric oxide. This compound helps relax and widen flow, means more oxygen and nutrients are delivered exactly where they are needed, especially during periods of high activity like nighttime repair. It also enhances the brain's ability to absorb glucose, which is a primary energy source for neurons working to rebuild and strengthen connections. Spinach goes even further by providing vitamin K, which supports the formation of specialized fats that make up the myelin sheath, the protective layer around nerve fibers that ensures fast and efficient signal transmission. And it contains vitamin E, a powerful antioxidant that protects brain cell membranes from oxidative damage. This protection becomes especially important during sleep when the brain is actively repairing itself and needs to preserve the integrity of its cells. Interestingly, the way spinach is prepared also matters. Cooking it slightly breaks down compounds that can interfere with mineral absorption, making nutrients like magnesium more available to the body. A generous serving of cooked spinach with dinner is one of the most effective ways to support multiple brain functions at once, especially for someone looking to maintain clarity and memory over time. Now we come to the fifth and final food on the list, and this one takes many of the benefits we've already discussed and amplifies them even further: mackerel. If sardines are the steady, reliable source of essential fats, mackerel is the more concentrated version, richer, more potent, and perfectly aligned with what the aging brain needs during its nightly repair cycles. Mackerel is exceptionally high in omega-3 fatty acids, particularly DHA and EPA, and these fats do more than just support the structure of brain cells. They also have strong anti-inflammatory effects within the brain itself. This is especially important because inflammation, as we discussed earlier, is one of the main factors that disrupts sleep, damages neurons, and interferes with the brain's ability to repair itself. Inside the brain, there are specialized immune cells that are meant to protect and maintain balance. But when these cells become overactive, a common issue with aging, they begin to release substances that can actually harm brain tissue. This creates a cycle where inflammation leads to more damage, which then leads to even more inflammation. The omega-3s found in mackerel help interrupt this cycle, bringing the system back into balance and reducing unnecessary stress on brain cells. Mackerel also plays a role in supporting a compound that is essential for learning and memory. This compound helps promote the growth of new neural connections, strengthens existing ones, and supports the brain's ability to adapt and respond to new information. In simple terms, it acts like a growth factor for the brain, helping it stay flexible and responsive rather than becoming rigid and slow over time. And one of the most reliable ways to maintain healthy levels of this compound is through regular intake of omega-3 fatty acids. Including mackerel in your diet once or twice a week, alongside sardines, creates a consistent supply of these essential fats. This consistency is what allows the brain to maintain its structure, reduce inflammation, and support the processes that keep memory and thinking sharp. At this point, you might be thinking about these foods individually, how sardines support structure, avocado improves blood flow, walnuts support energy, spinach enhances sleep and protection, and mackerel reduces inflammation. But here's where the real insight begins, and it's something most people completely overlook. These foods are not meant to work in isolation. They are part of a system, and when combined, they create an environment inside the body and specifically inside the brain that is far more powerful than any one of them could achieve alone. Each one targets a different layer of the same problem, and together they support the brain in a way that feels almost coordinated. Almost sardines and mackerel strengthen and maintain the physical structure of brain cells while reducing inflammation. Avocado improves blood flow and supports the balance of brain chemicals. Walnuts help maintain energy production by supporting healthy cellular function. Spinach enhances sleep quality, improves circulation, and protects brain cells from damage. And when all of these are working together, the result is a system that supports repair, clarity, and long-term resilience. But there's one more critical piece to this that most people never consider, and it has the potential to change how effective all of this really is, and that is timing. We'll explore that in the next part, because when you understand not just what to eat, but when to eat it, everything you've learned so far becomes even more powerful. Now, we come to the part that quietly changes everything you've just learned, and it's something most people never pay attention to, even if they know all the right foods. Timing. Not just what you eat, but when you eat it, it has a direct and measurable impact on how effectively your brain can use those nutrients during the night. You can include all 5 of these foods in your weekly routine and still miss a large part of their benefit if they are consumed randomly without any consideration for when your brain actually needs them the most. Think about what happens in the hours after dinner. As you move towards sleep, your body begins shifting into a different mode. Digestion slows, hormones change, and the brain prepares to enter the deep stages of sleep where the most important repair processes occur. This is exactly when the glymphatic system becomes most active, when memory consolidation is at its peak, and when the brain requires a steady, ready supply of nutrients to perform all of this work efficiently. If the nutrients your brain depends on are already circulating in your bloodstream during this window, everything runs more smoothly. The fats needed to maintain cell membranes are available, the vitamins required for neurotransmitter function are present, the minerals that support deep sleep are active, the compounds that reduce inflammation are already in place. In other words, you are not asking your body to store nutrients and use them later, you are delivering them precisely when demand is highest. This is why eating these foods in the evening as part of your dinner creates a different level of impact compared to spreading them randomly throughout the day. It aligns nutrient availability with biological need. And for an aging body, where absorption and efficiency are already reduced, this alignment becomes even more important. Every small advantage begins to matter more, and these advantages start to build on each other. Consider a simple example. A dinner that includes mackerel, a portion of cooked spinach, and half an avocado is not just a healthy meal in a general sense, it creates a specific internal environment. Within hours, the fatty acid profile in your bloodstream shifts. The availability of magnesium and folate increases. Blood vessels begin to relax and improve circulation. Inflammatory signals start to decrease. All of these changes begin the same night, not weeks later, and they directly influence how effectively your brain performs its nightly work. This is what makes the process so powerful. The effects are not distant or delayed. They are immediate at the biochemical level, and when repeated consistently, they begin to compound. One night of improvement leads to another, and then another, gradually building a pattern that supports better brain function over time. The difference between someone who follows this pattern occasionally and someone who follows it consistently becomes very clear when you look at the long-term results. A person who eats this way 2 or 3 nights a week is already moving in a better direction, giving their brain more support than it would otherwise have. But someone who follows it 5 or 6 nights a week is creating a much stronger and more stable foundation. Over weeks and months, that consistency begins to shape the brain itself, its structure, its efficiency, and its ability to repair and protect itself. It's important to understand that this isn't about perfection. It's about patterns. One well-balanced dinner is helpful, but it's only a single step. A consistent pattern of supportive meals is what creates meaningful change. It's like the difference between hearing one note and listening to an entire piece of music. The full effect only becomes clear over time as each part builds on the last. This is also where whole foods show their true advantage over isolated supplements. It's not that supplements are useless. They can have value in certain situations, but they cannot replicate the complexity of real foods. When you eat something like spinach, avocado, or walnuts, you're not just getting one nutrient, you're getting a combination of vitamins, minerals, fats, fiber, and bioactive compounds that interact with each other in ways that enhance their overall effect. For example, the healthy fats in avocado and sardines help your body absorb fat-soluble vitamins from spinach more effectively. The fiber in spinach influences how nutrients are processed in the digestive system, improving their availability. The compounds in walnuts interact with the gut in ways that create additional substances that benefit the brain. These interactions are layered and interconnected, and they cannot be reproduced in a single capsule or powder. This is why focusing on whole foods, especially in the right combinations, produces results that feel more complete and more sustainable. You're not targeting one single pathway, you're supporting multiple systems at once, allowing the body to function in a more balanced and efficient way. And when you combine this approach with proper timing, placing these foods into your evening routine, you begin to create a powerful alignment between what your body receives and what your brain needs. It's not about doing something extreme or complicated. It's about making deliberate, informed choices in a part of your day that most people treat as routine. Now, take a moment to think about what this means in practical terms. Every evening, you are making a decision that directly affects how your brain will function during the night. Most people don't realize this. They choose meals based on habit, convenience, or taste without considering the long-term impact. But once you understand what's happening, those choices begin to carry more weight. You're no longer just deciding what to eat, you're deciding how well your brain will repair itself, how effectively it will clear waste, how strongly it will store memories, and how clearly you will think the next day. And when you see it from that perspective, even small changes start to feel more meaningful. But there's still one final piece to this, and it's the one that brings everything together. Because this isn't just about individual nights or isolated choices, it's about the long-term direction you're setting for your brain. Now let's bring everything together, because what you've seen so far isn't just a collection of ideas about food or sleep. It's a complete shift in how you understand your brain and the role you play in shaping its future. For most people, cognitive decline feels like something distant and unavoidable, something tied to age that simply happens over time. But what you now understand is very different. The brain is not passively aging, it is actively responding every single day to the inputs it receives. And one of the most powerful of those inputs is something as ordinary as your evening meal. Research continues to show that the brain remains highly adaptable even in later decades of life.